My name is Annalyn Barkheimer, and today we will be discussing the leadership involved in the LA riots. In the middle of the night in early March 1991, California Highway Patrol officers pursued a speeding vehicle driven by Rodney King on the Foothill Freeway at the northern edge of Los Angeles. By the time the chase had come to an end, CHP was joined by 3 Los Angeles Police Department cars, an LAPD helicopter, and police from the Los Angeles Unified School District. According to reports, Rodney King and his passenger had quickly gotten out of the vehicle and laid on the ground as instructed. However, officers started observing some bizarre behavior from King, suspecting that he was either drunk or high. LAPD Sergeant Stacey Kuhn was in charge, and after King threw off the officers and was not affected by electronic stun guns continuing to resist arrest, Kuhn ordered officers to use their metal batons. One officer had taken it too far and had used his baton against King more than 24 times. This would originally had only received a departmental review. However, a nearby resident named George Holliday had caught the incident on tape and released it to the media the next day.
And supported by LA police officers, the vehicle was stopped.
An apartment dweller across the street took the videotape after hearing the fracas going on.
Just after midnight, I got woken up. I look out of the bedroom window. There was no beating going on or anything like that. Just the cars all coming to a halt right outside our apartment. My first thought, wow, here's something interesting to film. So I picked up the camera, walked out onto the balcony, and by then, the beating was already going on. I was watching it through the viewfinder of the camera because I was trying to get the camera in focus because it was pretty dark. I remember thinking, what did he do to deserve what's happening to him?
The country had begun speaking out about police brutality as soon as the video was released. LAPD Chief Gates concluded that the officers were guilty and would be prosecuted. Everyone in the city, including Mayor Bradley and Chief Gates, assumed that the officer would be found guilty. However, on April 29, 1992 at 3:15 p.m., the verdict declared that only one charge was placed against a single officer. Some believe this was due to the changing of the court location to Simi Valley, a predominantly white and pro-police community, and to Holliday's full video which showed King charging at an officer. By 4:15 that day, several young African-American men steal beer from a Korean-American store and attack the store owner's son, starting the beginning of the 6-day riot. This riot killed 54 people, injured over 2,000, and cost the city about $1 billion in damage.
$4,000 fires, staggering property damage, hundreds of injuries, and the senseless deaths of over 30 people. What we saw last night is not about civil rights. It's not a message of protest. It's not about the great cause of equality that all Americans must uphold. There can be no excuse for the murder, arson, theft, and vandalism. What is going on in LA must and will stop.
The LAPD, LA Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, and National Guard were not on good terms. Throughout recent history, the LA Sheriff's Department has offered men and assistance to the LAPD, but the LAPD has consistently refused, such as in the Watts riots of '65. The chief of LAPD and the LA Sheriff's Department were said to be egotistical and neither would lay down their pride. The Sheriff Department was supposed to have lead on a situation like this. However, Chief Gates believed he was in command, which created more friction. LAPD had contacted the National Guard, asking for potential help, but the Guard did not take it seriously and was not prepared for the riot. There was no communication or support with the agencies, and to make it worse, the LAPD had interagency conflicts. Chief Gates had recently demoted an Assistant Chief Dotson, and Assistant Chief Vernon was among retirement, leaving him with little people in command. When it came to preparing for the riots, he would not listen to his officers and refused to prepare. LAPD Chief Daryl Gates once said to LA Sheriff's Department Chief Sherman Block, Sherm, I can't imagine a circumstance in which we would ever have to call on you for anything. The two people who were mainly in charge of the LA riots and the verdict was LAPD Chief Daryl Gates and Mayor Tom Bradley. Chief Gates was not prepared by any means. He dismissed any of his officers' concerns about the likelihood of a riot and that they should prepare for the worst. Both Gates and Bradley did not agree and did not want to be responsible for the riot. There was no communication. Officers of all of the agencies were doing what they believed is right, since Gates refused to take their concerns seriously. Gates also did not facilitate plans nor held a coordinated team. He was unable to make the necessary decisions, and the decision he made to stay out of the riots was to save face and not the city. Mayor Bradley was also not able to make the necessary decisions, nor did he take responsibility. Instead, he blamed the court in his speech after the verdict and stated that he understood the city's pain. Although meant to be empathetic, some believe that it validated the riots for the city. These leaders were not goal-oriented, nor did they prioritize. When the riots broke out, Chief Gates was at a fundraiser, and Mayor Bradley was networking with other community leaders. Neither were there to take lead on the riots. Here are some examples of their poor leadership. Brian Lewis, commander of the Uniform Service Group, says, "They said, well, if they call, they call. And that was our contact with the Army National Guard." Lieutenant Hillman, on his own, borrowed extra bulletproof vest. Chief Gates said, "I don't want to put the LAPD in the position of predicting a riot." And on 77th Street Division was receiving several threatening phone calls, but Captain Paul Jefferson did not believe the calls were significant.
One seemed to be able to contact him, no one knew where he was. It was bizarre. It turned out he was at a fundraiser to defeat an initiative that would have placed a term limit on himself, which is just kind of perfect.
So when the verdicts were handed down, Gates got in his car and went to Brentwood to a fundraiser. The fact is, Daryl Gates turned his back when LA needed him the most.
The LA versus the CHP leadership. Recent LAPD and CHP leadership has been focused on community policing styles. LAPD practices preventive policing in that they use data to predict where the crime will hit and use that to prevent it from happening. So far, this just showed decreases in the crime levels. The CHP strategic plan for 2016 shows more focus on community involvement, ensuring safety and trust to prevent accidents. LAPD also practices transparency and has many records, reports, and even body cam videos available to show that they aren't hiding anything, unlike recent past. Recommendations. The main concerns that the city of Los Angeles showed in the riots was no preparation, no order of command, and no communication or support. To ensure this doesn't happen again, LAPD and the LA Sheriff Department should create a riot or large social disturbance protocol with other LA first responders, city council, and other necessary outside agencies. This protocol should be shared and practiced with everyone involved so the city can prevent or at least mitigate the crisis. There needs to be classification of order of command to decrease tension across agencies and for effective productivity. There should also be fusion meetings when there is a chance of an event like a riot may occur. Preparation should be a consensus of all that may be involved, and the decisions should be thought out and balanced to ensure everyone is on the same page. This will create the respect and support needed across agencies. Also, law enforcement needs to continue to focus on community policing to show that cops are on the side of the community.